and we can move to the belts. So we'll grab ourselves a plane real quick, turn this off, and let's head to the object and scale this up and then down. We can get a few more of those width segments going. Something a little like this looks quite cool. And the way we're going to get it in the shape that we want to start off with is by using a spline wrap, right? So we need ourselves a path and then a spline wrap itself. So if we get ourselves a helix, something like this, maybe let's activate these so we know what we're looking at. Rotate this to about 90 degrees. We can scale this up slightly, increase the height as is, and move this over slightly to the left. And then what we can do is grab our plane. We need a spline wrap effector, which I believe the correct one is in here. Drop that beneath the helix and set the spline to the, we need to drop that beneath the plane and then set the spline to the helix, and we're going to wrap around like that. So from this point, we can sort of head back into that plane and increase the width segments again. So we're kind of looking for squares here. That's how you know it's working uniform. And if we were now to right click on that, and I suppose we can probably bake it at this point. So if we were to quite literally connect objects and delete, you can delete that spline, and we've got a plane here that we can now convert into a cloth if we wanted to. What we do is just to check that works like we want it to, we can head to simulation tags and get ourselves a cloth. Make sure the forces are, I'm pretty sure you can leave it at exclude, but just to be sure, I like to have as much control as I can. And we'll drag the attractor in and the turbulence, play this through, and you can see we're already getting some pretty nice belts, and the turbulence, I'd say, is actually pretty perfect here. It looks nice. Things to bear in mind are collision passes. I had some issues in the previous render where things were like colliding and getting caught here and there, and that's something you kind of want to dial out. Okay, so this is what I mean. You want to make sure this stuff is kind of sorted at the start. So if we take this plane and just scale it literally to 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, or rather maybe 1.25. You don't want those intersections to happen because it's going to cause you issues throughout your simulation. So we've got a nice little gap there, and that's kind of what we're after. Make sure you have that all around, and we can just play that through one more time to take a look. Looks cool. Let's go to mode real quick. Head to mode, project simulation, and just increase the collision passes. Let's create that to maybe 10, 5. The substeps are probably fine. That will make your simulation run a little bit slower, but let's just up that. Also, worth mentioning, should have said this at the start, but the less geometry you have, the lower your topology is, the less detail you have in that simulation. But you can use that to your favor. If you're simulating something like ribbons, you're going to want a few more paper-like creases because the material's thinner. With these, we're using like a seat belt type of thing. So we can afford to have a little lower geometry, thankfully an easier simulation, and something which is a little bendier in the right sort of way.